Patroclus Goes to War. Poseidon watched and took his chance. The Greeks, with his help and the mighty powers of Ajax and Idomeneus, forced the Trojans with their flaming torches away from their ships and back toward the ditch. Zeus awoke and was furious when he saw what had happened. He tipped the scales the other way, and now the Trojans were once again inching forward, their flaming torches held up high, getting even closer to the ships. Hector fought with Ajax again. Achilles still sulked beside his high-prowed boats, while his warriors grumbled. They lived to fight. Patroclus came to him in tears. "What's the matter with you, my boy?" Achilles asked his favorite. "Don't tell me you're weeping because the Trojans are winning. You know the wrong that Agamemnon did to me." "I'm not weeping for them so much as for you, Lord Achilles. I weep because you are behaving like an evil man, abandoning all the Greeks here to eternal darkness. At least let me go into battle with our men." Achilles shrugged indifferently. Patroclus went on. "Let me wear your armor and take your horses Xanus and Belius, the windrunners. The Trojans will think it's you for a moment and give our allies a chance to recover." Achilles was moved by the young man's courage. "You have my permission. Take my armor and prepare yourself." Patroclus smiled and then began strapping on the glittering bronze. Silver-studded and decorated with inlaid gold, he began to look like Achilles, the destroyer of men. Achilles spoke to his warriors. "My men, my wolf warriors, your time has come. I know you've been chafing at the bit. You've been angry with me. Now you have real work to do. If they set fire to our ships, we are all doomed to die on this beach among the smoldering hulks. Go do the work you know so well." They lifted their shields in salute, and with Patroclus in their lead, they moved in closer order. Like a woven carpet, they packed together and went into battle. Man to man, shoulder to shoulder, helmet to helmet, they marched into fight. Hector watched them coming. He thought he saw Achilles in their lead and didn't hesitate. He slashed with his sword at Ajax and cut the shaft of his spear. Ajax and his men backed away as the Trojans began throwing their flaming brands into the nearest open ships. And some tar and rigging quietly ignited, and the wood began to burn. Patroclus called Achilles, "Save the ships, and then drive their warriors to Troy. Come back, safe." And so it began again. Zeus, looking down, answered part of Achilles' prayers. Patroclus drove to the Trojans from their ships, but as for coming back safely from the battle, that was another matter. When the fresh warriors fell on them, the Trojans saw a big man Achilles in armor, and just as Hector had they believed they saw Achilles himself. They broke ranks and ran. After them raced the baying hordes who'd come new to the hut. Harrying, cutting, slicing, charging towards their enemies, the wolf-filed men came on. Dust rose over them, and through it in the glint the shimmer of bronze on bronze, the screams of dying men, and the unending roars of warriors as if thunderous surfs were roaring over the plain toward the walls of Troy. Patroclus cut the Trojans off from their city and slaughtered them at will as revenge for the Greeks already dead. He searched for Hector in the fury of the battle, but Hector had fast horses and kept far out of the way until gods would give him a sign. Patroclus hurtled into his chariot behind the wind-flying horses to confront troops led by Sapperdin, a Trojan hero. The two men leaped from their chariots in full armor. They stalked around each other like fighting birds, heads high, spears like claws, screaming death in each other's faces. Zeus, sitting behind Hera, looked down and was distressed. "What do you see, my lord?" she asked. "I see that fate is unkind. Sapperdin, who I love, is about to be killed by Patroclus. I could snatch him away and transport him alive to Lycia. Or do I let him suffer his fate? It's hard, Hera, to be all-powerful." Hera shrugged. "You amaze me. You think of interfering with fate of the mere mortal? Do it if you want, but be prepared for others to want the same for you. Let Sapperdin die, and then let death and sleep take him home to burial and honor." Zeus sighed and then sent bloody rain to fall around the battlefield of Sapperdin, as Sapperdin cast his spear. It hit the lead horse, Pasidus, who fell and threw over the horses into confusion. Patroclus threw his spear, and it hit Sapperdin, whose rib cage covers his heart. He fell like a giant oak. Before he died, Sapperdin called to his men to protect his body from the shame of capture. Patroclus put a sandaled foot on Sapperdin's heaving chest and hauled the heavy war spear from the dying man's flesh. The Greeks fought to take Saturnin's armor and to desecrate his body. Hector looked across the chaos as his men tried to escape the terrible onslaught. Patroclus approached the wall of the city, and 3 times the god Apollo threw him back. Then he warned Patroclus, "Get back. Troy won't be captured by you nor by Achilles, who is a far better man." Patroclus fell back a little. Then the god whispered to Hector, "The timing is right. Attack Patroclus. Kill him." Hector, ignoring the other skirmishes, changed through the battle after Patroclus, who was wearing Achilles' shining armor. The sun was past its height. The dark shadows of the Trojan walls loomed over the plain. Even as dusk came, great men died and were stripped of their armor and weapons by their enemies. Patroclus charged like a madman into the thickest fight and killed again. Covered in blood, he speared and gutted man after man, sending them into all eternity of darkness. All of this time, Hector was moving closer. Suddenly, Apollo ran past and hit the brave Patroclus between his shoulders. He fell to the ground, and his helmet rolled away, smeared with dust and blood. He lost his mighty spear, and Apollo even undid his dented, shimmering breastplate. Patroclus struggled to his knees, and Trojan warrior thrust a spear between his shoulder blades. Somehow his men held back the attacker, and Patroclus managed to creep away through the lines of his roaring warriors. Hector, seeing his chance, came screaming through the choking melee. He struck the wounded man in the stomach with appalling force. Patroclus fell with a thud back onto his knees. Before he died, he looked into Hector's thrusting face and said, "It was not you who killed me. Fate did that. Apollo, who took my breastplate, and hateful destiny did that. But hear me. You do not have long to live. You will die soon at the hands of Achilles of the wind. Achilles, Achilles, son of Thetis." And he fell face to the sky. So Patroclus died.